No.
Hey, Chris. What about the pledge, Gina?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, Chris, can you hear me?
Yes.
You're up today for the prayer.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, just want to make sure.
It's a little delayed.
Yeah,
You're talking,
and it's hard.
it's just like, I gotta keep focused.
Yeah, because
I'm
if you,
focusing on
if you
what we're
listen.
saying.
Hey, Chris. Oh, yeah, stop it.
So, yeah, I think it's like,
Really?
I can't.
What about the
listen.
pledge, Gina?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, Chris, can you? Yeah, there we go.
Do you like it better on that view or the speaker?
That other view.
Why is Chris so red?
Oh, wait, I can, I don't know. Yes, sir.
I can't unmute myself because you muted me.
Yes, we did, and there's a good reason for that.
My mouth said, "Do you?"
Yeah, we'll unmute you when we think you're ready to talk.
When you're ready to talk, you'll unmute me.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Do you want me to leave?
Judge, did you need something else?
No.
Okay.
So serious. Okay, how many people do we have?
34.
Okay. Are y'all ready to get started? Did you unmute all of them?
Ready.
Chris is not unmuted.
He did it himself.
Oh. All right, Chris, you're muted.
Oh, wait.
Yeah, I didn't do that.
Okay. Well, yeah, Jerry did.
I know. I just couldn't unmute myself.
Okay. Are y'all ready to get started?
Ready.
Okay, I'll lead the pledge, and Chris, you can do the prayer for us.
Okay, that'll work.
All right, if y'all will stand, we'll get the meeting started. So the American flag, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And the Texas flag, honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
If you'll pray with me, please. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for giving us another day to serve you and the people of this county. I pray for us all in this time of uncertainty that you will give us a hope and a faith renewed every morning surrounded in your love. I pray protection of our first responders, the healthcare providers, and everyone that are serving in the community and their places of work during this pandemic, God. Just please be with the local business owners and the employees here, and also give us guidance and knowledge to navigate these waters so that your will be done and our county will soon be back to as normal as we had come to love our county. I pray these things in Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Chris. Okay, the first item on the agenda, and I'll remind everyone that there is the chat box, so if there's any public comments or questions, you can use the chat box and ask those questions, and we will try to get them answered. All right, anything on the bills? Did y'all get a chance to look over those?
I had no comment.
I got a question.
I got a question on two different ones. Go ahead, Chris.
I didn't have a question on these this time.
Oh. So my question is on let me find it. page 27.
Okay.
Are these notebook computers replacements for Windows 10 upgrade or additional inventory to the county? And what department do they go to?
Okay, these are replacement for Windows 7 computers. The jail got one of them, and we are currently using it for the Zoom hearings that we're doing over at the jail.
Okay.
The sheriff's office got 2 of them, IT got one, the museum got one, fire marshal got one, the DA got one. So these were all replacements that were, gosh, the order was put in back in April, I think, and we finally, or
Okay.
the very first part of April, maybe. And we finally got them.
All right, thank you. The other question is on page 31. What can this fund be used for, and who is the administrator of the fund? And maybe Robin or Mark can answer that question.
Mark, can you unmute Mark? Hold on, Mark. Okay, Mark, can you hear us?
Let me see, is it me?
Yes, we hear you. Yeah.
Okay.
So do you know on this child support fund, are there some stipulations on that?
Actually, that child support fund is created by the Texas Family Code. And in paragraph 203, it says that those funds are general funds. And our county has always kept them separate. So just to keep track of how much is there. But Commissioner's Court has authority to spend that as it wants.
So there's no requirements for that can be used.
No, the Commissioner's Court has complete authority. And
Okay.
basically they've restricted that in the past for district clerk expenditures, but it can be spent for records management, basically.
Robin wants to talk.
All right. Where is it?
Okay, no video.
Okay. Robin, did you have a comment? You're gonna have to unmute yourself. Did she put something in the chat?
I am the administrator. No, I want to discuss this. I have a copy of the contract. I don't think she has a microphone. I think she's gonna send all the commissioners email in regard to this for the reading.
Did that before today. Robin did put something in the chat box that she was going to send some information to the commissioners in regards to this.
She said you may want to table this till next week.
After reviewing the 203 of that code, I don't see where there's a problem of using those funds because it states that it's for the operation of that office of which she's the administrator of. So that would be my only comment.
That's Larry, that's what I thought too. I thought it's similar to the records management where it could be used for things in the office or something like that.
Okay.
Mark, is that the way you interpret it?
Yes, and that's the way the court has handled it in the past.
So and you said there was $1,000 budgeted already. So do we need to take any action or just go ahead and the bills approve that invoice?
No, I consider it appropriate. I'm just going to follow up with the review of the case counts.
So Mark, so that other, I know you sent those 2 invoices to us. So wouldn't that other one also be part of that account also, or Why are they different?
Have you looked at what those shields are? Have you seen them?
No, I hadn't. I've been at home.
Yeah. Those shields are at the front desk, and those would have very little to do with child support activities.
Okay.
You said, I use these funds for chairs, desks, computers, etc. I got the shields to protect my girls.
Robin put a comment in that she bought the computers, desk, and chairs,
And shields to protect.
and the shields to protect the girls. But the shields are out of a different fund, not this one. Right?
Yeah, they're being paid out of her district clerk budget.
Right.
They were Judge, they were originally were taken out of that fund, and then they were changed over.
Okay, all right. I have a question. Okay. Okay, anything else on that? Kathy has a comment.
Okay, my question goes back to that page 27 on the county records management. And I know Cindy explained that those were what departments. My question is, because I questioned this last week, why on these bills for all this county records management, there is no documentation on what departments have been paid from each of these? Where's the documentation on what this bill is for? Why is it not in the auditor's office?
It is in the auditor's office.
It wasn't in there Thursday.
So are you saying like these computers were purchased and this is where they go?
Yeah, we have
Documentation?
spent 99,000 out of that fund. We budgeted, I believe, 110.
Right.
I have asked, and maybe you can tell Pam where it's at then, because I have asked, where, first of all, we didn't discuss servers being paid from this when we budgeted this last year. And there's servers that have come out of this. My question is just, if you wanted to know, just like this bill, the 7 HP notebooks, and you stated those are notebooks that already existed, they were not new for this reason. But my question is, why do we not have something in the auditor's office that shows where these, but Mark says there is, so I'll get with Pam again and ask her. Because I asked this question last week.
Well, I didn't get the question.
You got the
You asked me
question
the
Thursday.
question and
I asked,
you get me the question and I'll get you the information.
I asked you Thursday. I sent you the email,
I wasn't there Thursday to get anything.
but you responded to the email. Thank you.
Well, I didn't get the impression you were asking me a question. I thought you were informing me.
Okay. Okay. Well, I just think there needs to be documentation in the auditor's office that shows on those bills whose computers those are.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
how do we know the next
computers
door
went?
neighbor didn't get one?
Right, where the computers went.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think that's easy enough to get that
Yes,
information.
that's my question.
Yeah.
Okay. We can get that.
Well, the information is not necessarily all in the auditor's office. If I'm asked a question, I obtain the information. I don't necessarily have it in the auditor's office.
So when you pay a bill, you don't want to know who that bill pertained to?
Yes, I know. The data department has all that information, and I'm not going to duplicate their records.
Well, the commissioner's court's over county records management, not the IT person.
I think-
Judge, can you give us where all those computers went? Didn't you just tell us what department?
Yes, I have a list of where those
That's what I was thinking.
those 7
There's a
notebooks.
list of where
Yeah, I
they
don't
go.
know where she got
So
her.
we have a record of them.
Russell,
Present it to the
Okay.
auditor's office.
right. I can get Russell to give me a list of where everything's gone.
Well, I just think we need to know that and make sure I didn't get 2 or
3 or 4 in my office, you know, that I'm not using. Okay, yeah, I can get Russell to make us a list of that. Easy one.
So are we complete on the purchase of computers, or do you know, Judge?
I honestly don't know for sure. I think we're close.
I hope we
But
only
there
have
was-
8,000.
There was some, we put in an order a long time ago, and there was quite a big delay on getting those.
Okay.
Give us an update for that for the next meeting, please.
I sure will. Okay. All right, so anything else on the bills? Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to pay the bill.
I'll second.
Okay, there's a motion and second to pay the bills. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, item 4, consider under approved payroll. We don't have that today.
It's not ready yet.
Okay. All right, item 5, any additions or corrections of our previous commissioners court meeting?
No correction, that was April 13th and also April 20th meeting.
Okay. Item 6, were there any other public comments? No? Okay, don't forget the chat box if you have a comment or a question, put it in there. Item 7, consider, discuss, approve any and all items necessary or pertaining to the county jail. We have sheriff on here? Oh.
Yes.
Oh, hey,
Ju-
Sheriff.
How are y'all? We currently have 32 inmates, 4 females and 28 males. One of the males is currently being housed in Potter County due to him having court over there.
Any other issues at the jail?
No, I think everything else is going smoothly.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, item 8, consider, discuss, approve any and all items necessary or pertaining to the county courthouse.
I talked to James this morning and he said that he has turned that change order over to Dennis, and Dennis has not returned or done anything about it yet. But he would try to get back with him.
Red, I got an email.
Well, I got what he said. He'd send us one this morning, so you've got it, huh?
I've got it, yes.
Yeah, about $93,000 change order.
Yes,
92.
93,5562.
Yeah, he told me he'd send that, but it's not the one that counts. That's just what he has turned into Dennis.
Oh, okay, so it hasn't been approved on up the chain yet.
Right. It hadn't been approved all the way up. He said he'd just send it to show us what that he had turned in. And so that's kind of where we're standing on that, kind of waiting for the upper management to take care of it.
Okay,
And then Michael Barnum called the other day and said things have been sent to the Historical Commission, and that whenever we pay the bill, that he will send us a receipt that we can turn into the Historical Commission to get our refund.
okay, perfect. Anything else?
That's about all that I found out this week about the courthouse.
Okay.
Oh,
No, there
by
was
the way, James did say that train is working from home, so things probably slowed down quite a bit on getting things done.
Oh, no.
Someone have a question? I know that there have been some questions and some people that their cards didn't work on the door locks. And Russell has been in contact with Guardian, and they got back with him once, and they were supposed to have someone else get back with him, and that person hasn't yet. So Russell was gonna make contact with them again today on that, and then if they don't have a solution, he may call Daniel with Access, see if he has a solution.
So the other four, Laura, the other four that couldn't get in, everyone can get in at the south doors, correct?
Yes, that's the
Okay.
only door in public. Well,
Well, I mean with the badges.
right, yeah. Mine's working fine. I think there's just a few people that have had some issues with theirs.
Like at both doors or just the east doors?
I don't know. I don't know what door they're coming in.
All right.
Okay, item 9. Consider and/or approve adoption of qualified replacement benefit arrangement with Texas County and District Retirement System. And I sent you all that information. I'm sure you all read that verbatim, right?
Yes.
Kathy, do you have any explanation on it?
Well, I got an email the first of last week from Ralph Wallace. He is our representative with TCDRS. And I had never heard of this before. And so I asked him to call me, and he did. And he said, what this is when you have employees that are 62 years or older, or we do, we have a couple. And what it is this 415 plan, what it does is it limits, I didn't realize this, it limits the contribution amount that TCDRS can pay to our employees. And for younger employees that are retiring, then it's a much lower amount. But what they have done in the past is, we did not have one on file because we did not have this situation with an employee yet. Well, they look at the age on people and how much money you have in the retirement system, and they have found that we need to get this in place. So what it is, let's say that we have an employee and they reach a max when they retire next year, for instance, and in October, TCDRS has paid out that max that the IRS is allowing. Well, you cut this employee off if the county's not going to pay this. What TCDRS wants the counties to do, and they've done it in the past, is they want us to pay those retirement checks, say that last 2 months to this employee, and they will reimburse us the money. We're not going to be out any money. It's just a protection for our employees to get that check for the whole year.
But it's if we sign this.
Yes, if we don't have this in place and we have an employee this happens to, which that shouldn't happen because TCDRS looks at this, they are constantly updating this. But like Cindy said, if we don't have this in place, that employee could possibly not get some checks.
So it's basically just a matter of adopting it to make sure we have it in place to save rights from that.
Yes.
My understanding on this also was that it was increasing the amount also. It went up $5,000 over what the current amount is also that employee can get under this IRS.
You're right, yeah.
It's the
Yes,
max,
true.
the only max, and so it increased the max by $5,000.
Yeah.
I make a motion, we approve this contract.
Second.
A motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
You had some comments on the door
Oh,
situation.
can you read them to me? Hold on, we had a comment on the door.
Laura, which is a judge, we were having a problem getting into the east side doors. There are 4 of us this morning that could not get in. We had to call the county clerk's office to let us in.
Okay.
My badge works great at the doors by the library. I don't know about the other people. It's the east doors are having problems. Then Jan, I tried to come in the north door this morning and couldn't get in. Then Christy Slough, the south door has big issues with the key card. At times it takes 5 to 6 times to open. Sometimes opens immediately. I have had to walk to the north door so after hours.
So all of y'all that put comments in about the doors, we are looking for a solution. So just bear with us and hopefully we'll get that resolved sooner than later. Okay. The next item 10 is to consider and to approve the tabled item from April the 20th meeting to purchase the tasers for the jail. So I did send that contract for the tasers over to Mike and he checked on it, didn't have any problems with it. Mark did advise me that that full amount would need to come out of one budget year. And so I talked to Drennan again in regards to the tasers. Well, we emailed back and forth, and I just kind of advised him that possibly, and of course it's up to you guys also, that maybe we hold off making a purchase this large until we kind of look and see what our financial situation is going to be like for the coming year. That doesn't mean that maybe by the end of this budget year, if they still have that money in their budget, that we couldn't purchase that. It's just, I think at this time, we might need to wait and see what our financial situation is going to look like. Thoughts, comments?
Only thought I have is the safety of the jailers. Are the tasers they're using now, are they even workable or anything? And I think the sheriff might be able to comment on that. If I don't want to jeopardize the safety of the jailers.
Is Drennan on here?
Mhm.
Yes.
Drennan was supposed to be on here.
Hold on, we're going to get Drennan unmuted if possible. Drennan, can you hear us? Oh, there you are. Hold on, let us unmute you. Okay, can you hear us?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right, Drennan, so how many workable tasers do you all have in the jail at this time?
So we have 5 tasers in the jail. Like I explained the last when we did discuss it, all of them except for one have a error on the taser. So we don't know what the battery capacity is of it, and we don't know when it's going to actually stop. If you recall, all the tasers in the jail were actually originally supposed to be destroyed per taser. So all of them on the display itself, and whenever you plug it in the computer, you cannot see what the current status of the taser is, other than that there is an error, except for one taser.
They're working. It's just you don't know when you're going to go to deploy it and it won't be working.
Correct. Yes, ma'am. So Taser recommends that anything below 20% is to be used for training only, because it may not deploy correctly. We know that one Taser is at 21% right now. We do not know what any other Taser battery capacity is at, or what is wrong with them. They will spark test. So every day, every shift, we do what's called a spark test and make sure the Taser does activate at that time, but that takes away battery power every time we do that.
So they're really unreliable in kind of, because you don't know what charge they have on them, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I will say that I'm fortunate that Taser did send us that demonstration model, and that's what I currently carry in the jail. So we do have one reliable Taser because they loaned it to us for right now, but it does have to go back pretty soon.
New batteries cannot be bought for the old Patriots.
No, sir. They do not manufacture any parts for it anymore except for the cartridge, because they have a Taser that still uses that cartridge that is still that's still being manufactured. But other than the cartridge itself, there is no parts that are able to be bought for it.
Mark, did you tell me that you looked at the jail budget and thought that there could be some things moved around so this could be purchased, or?
Yes.
Drennan, are there any other major purchases that you think that you need to do this year?
As far as the jail,
Yes.
we are looking at a shower because the shower and booking is pretty much falling down. As far as equipment, I don't believe so. No, sir.
I mean, I agree with Judge, but I mean, we need to be careful about the expenses, but what makes me nervous is I think our budget year next year is going to really get hit. And so, I mean, that's a year and a half out possibly of not being able to get the equipment.
Right. I would also say
Right.
that if we were, if y'all were to approve it today, I don't know how long it's actually going to take Taser to send them the product to us. So
Right.
it could be, a quick turnaround. It could be a little waiting period because of the whole virus.
I'm all for it, but in the future, we need to start looking at all of our equipment and plan ahead and put them in our budget. And, sometimes you don't see the unexpected, it happens, but at least we'll have an idea of how old our equipment is and stuff. And that's with all departments. I'm just not saying the jail. We need to evaluate stuff, and so this stuff doesn't come up mid-year.
Brandon, is this something that we can, I know the contracts are on the paper were static. Is this something that we could stagger though between equipment, maybe half quarter one time on a 5-year contract and then 2 or 3 years later, get the other half, kind of like vehicles, like cycle them out through those contracts?
You talking to me, sir?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, those contracts with Taser, can they be, is it all or nothing, or can they be like half for a 5-year contract and then 2 years later do the other half for a 5-year contract? I mean, years down the road when we need to
from what
replace these.
What Judge was explaining to me is that we can't pay it out over the 5 years. I don't understand the logistics behind that we'd have to go ahead and buy it up front and all the full amount at the time. So if we were to do that, I guess, we could buy a couple here and a couple there, so on and so forth. Our current problem is that, we have 4 jailers on at a time. So we don't know when those jailers are going to be out on the floor. So swapping tasers, human error as we have it. One of them's going to forget to get a new taser. And I would be afraid that something's going to happen where they either won't have a taser on them or they have an old taser that probably won't function. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. Is there a reason why we have to pay this one out in total, in full?
I'm not saying they have to be paid out in total. I'm saying that under generally accepted accounting standards, it has to be charged to the budget initially, initially. And then, the court can pay it out if they'd like, but the charge to the budget has to be currently.
Okay.
Basically, it's going to need to reflect the full amount from this budget, even though we might not pay that full amount.
Yes, the other part is a payable,
Right.
but we have to have the asset as recorded and then a payables recorded. And I'm not sure the commissioner's court can obligate a future commissioner's court to those type of payments. We'd need to check on that.
How is that different than our contract with the equipment in the sheriff's office? I just went blank on the technology. What was the
Cop sync, sir.
Yes. Yeah. How is that different than that contract?
Well, it's not. The commissioner's court just took the position that they would take it over 5 years. Is that what you mean?
Yes. Yeah. You were talking about not putting that commitment on future commissioners. And I just didn't know if there was a difference between that and the cop sync that we were stuck with.
No, it's the same. It's just the commissioner's court decided to go ahead and do that contract.
Okay.
The difference, Chris, is the fact that under that contract, there was an opt-out clause, but there wasn't.
Right.
We did run that by the attorney, but evidently there was not an opt-out on it once they went bankrupt.
Actually, the reason we're still paying was because that contract was sold to a bank and we were obligated to pay the bank not necessarily cop sync.
Any further discussion on the tasers? Thoughts, motions?
I make a motion that we approve the purchase of the tasers.
In full?
Is that, Dale, would you clarify that in the fact that let's pay the entire amount out of this budget or not?
Yes, pay the, Mark said he can move the money around within that department and pay the full amount within this budget.
I'll second that motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second to purchase the tasers out of this year's budget. Any further discussion?
What would be the total remaining? I don't have the,
15,000 something.
It's $15,040.
well, I meant, Drennan, if we did that out of the entire budget now, I mean, that wouldn't, Drennan, you don't think that'd be putting you guys in a super big bind for the next 5 months or so?
No, sir, I don't anticipate any kind of big purchase as far as equipment wise.
Right,
I mean, we never know what comes up, obviously, but
right.
as far as equipment, for the most part, we're all good. I honestly think, like Mr. Herb said, officer safety wise, I would say take the chance over, us getting in a bind where one doesn't deploy. So.
Yeah, no, I'm for that. I was just making sure
Right.
that if we paid it all now instead of broke it up,
Right.
that it wouldn't.
Captain
You'd be
Sepulveda,
okay with that?
Captain Sepulveda is the boss of the jail, but
She's
would
okay
say
with that?
I would say she would agree with that. Yes, sir. We have
Okay.
a pretty close relationship where she would agree with me.
Okay. That's all I have, sorry.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to purchase the tasers out of this year's budget in full. Is there any further discussion? All in favor? Okay.
Thank you all.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Judge.
You're welcome.
Okay, the next item is item 11, to consider and/or approve new copier lease for the extension office. And I think Christie's on here. Let us unmute you, Christie. You may have to, oh, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can y'all hear me?
So, yes, so I have the information that you submitted on the new copier lease from your office, if you just want to review that.
Okay.
with the commissioners.
Okay, yeah, and I put a packet in each one of the commissioners' packets too, so they should all have it. Pretty much what the deal is we lease our copier for 5 years. We have to pay so much for a black and white copy. We have to pay so much for a color copy, but the people we lease from send us the ink, send us the toner, send us, do maintenance on it, anything of the sorts. And our copier lease actually went out in February. And we are having some big issues with our copier, probably, due to all the dust and everything is just finally eating it up because it's leaving lines all over our copies and everything. And they've told us they've done all they can and they can't fix it. And so Xerox, the person who is working with us, is no longer around. Benchmark handles their contracts. And Benchmark was not being the friendliest to us. And so we reached out, and Tascosa Office Machines also leases copiers like that. I know LaDonna talked with some office upstairs, and they have Tascosa, and they said it's been very good. And then in order to be fiscally responsible, Tascosa Office Machines' main copier company that they lease is Canon, and they gave us a copier quote for a Canon that was comparable for the Xerox that we've been using, and it came in at $90 and some pocket change a month. They could get us a Xerox through Tascosa. It was like $114, $115. I don't have the papers in front of me. And then Benchmark for that same Xerox was like $100 Oh, it was way expensive. To us.
It was 139 is the paperwork.
Yes, 139. And so we just felt in order to be fiscally responsible and everything like that, and that Tascosa has provided good service to another office in the courthouse, we felt it would be best to go with the Canon copier this year, and it's on a 5-year lease.
Okay, Christy, how much were you paying prior to?
I want to say maybe 109.
So it's a little bit of a savings even.
Yes, I think the black and white copies are 0.001 cents higher than what we're currently paying. And like the color copies, I think are right at the same price that we've been paying. And we don't use that many color copies unless we're going out for programs, stuff like that. It's mainly just all black and white.
Okay.
And we know that we can't have it delivered or anything until after the courthouse is open to the public, because they'll have to come and set it up and stuff. But we want to go ahead and be able to get on their list so that we can get that done.
All right, any questions, commissioners, comments?
That was my question. They won't deliver it, or we're not allowing them to install it at the courthouse?
We just figured it would be best to wait until we were back open, but they will deliver. I'm not sure if they'll deliver until we're open or not, because LaDonna's been doing the talking with them.
Okay, because if you're having problems currently with the one you have, I'd like to see go ahead and switch over, plus we'll have a little bit of a savings.
Okay.
If the judge allows them to come into the courthouse.
Right, we're just trying to keep any unnecessary people out, unless there's a extenuating circumstance for someone to be in the courthouse. So, but your copier is working, it's just not working good, right?
Right. I mean, it's working, but you're seeing lines.
If your lease went up, so now we're paying month to month?
Yes.
Okay. Have a motion?
I make a motion that we approve I'll second it. Red can make the motion.
So the lease for the Canon, Red, is
Yes.
that?
Yes, for the Canon.
Okay, all right, so we have a motion and a second to approve the lease for the copier for the extension office for the Canon. Any discussion? All in favor? Okay, thanks, Christy.
Thank you, Judge. Thanks, commissioners.
Well,
thank you.
Welcome.
All right.
Enjoy the beach.
Item 12 is an update on the COVID-19, and Jerry's here. He'll give us an update. Can y'all see that okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, as far as our COVID Hudson County update, as of today, the current numbers that I have as far as testing within Hudson County, that's with our local healthcare providers and Golden Plains Hospitals, 133 tests. A lot of the tests that we still have today, they're still giving based off of symptomatic people that are showing symptoms coming into the doctor's offices. So as far as the rapid testing, we haven't started any of that as far as in Hudson County yet. We are currently working with Golden Plains Hospital and with under the governor's new rapid testing with the National Guard and State Guard services, trying to get at least a one-day rollout of rapid testing in Hutchinson County. We're trying to look at getting on their schedule here in the next week or two to try to get that done. As of today, Hutchinson County cases, we have 14 positive cases in Hutchinson County. One of those cases is we're waiting on a confirmation, but 14 cases that have been reported to us. 12 of those cases are active cases. They're currently under quarantine. and 2 of those cases have been listed as recovered. This is a graphic showing the other counties around us. DSHS hadn't updated our count yet on here, but the rest of the cases in the top 26 counties. And as you can see on here also, Moore County, their case count is rapidly growing. They're doing a lot of rapid testing over in Moore County, especially with the National Guard and State Guard services coming in and doing some rapid testing there. They were also in Gray County yesterday, so we're probably going to see that number go up quite a bit as well. But some of these cases are due to workplace transmission. And then I'll go ahead and say this: some of our cases, a pretty big percentage of our cases are workplace transmissions from other counties. So we're getting a lot of that bleed over in Hudson County from other counties as far as work transmission. This is the current graphic showing the state cases is 24,631 with state fatalities of 648. But the recovered number on there is actually pretty good. It's actually growing pretty rapidly, so it's some good news. Here's a closer graphic as far as our area, as far as fatalities reported. This graphic here is a newer graphic from the state. This is right here shows what they keep talking about as far as our trying to flatten the curve. If you look at the top graphic, the line that's the blue line going up, and those are the cases within Texas on a daily rate. So you can see that as of on 4/26 yesterday, there's 858 cases that day that was reported. And then the day before that, we were in the 900s. So it's averaging 800 to 900 cases daily. So you can see in Texas that we haven't reached a peak or a flattening of the curve yet. It's still increasing daily, to 800 to 900 cases. The bottom graphic there also is the fatalities, as far as daily fatalities. That it keeps increasing as well. I'll show you a graphic here in a minute that shows that the projection that the health services is looking at, that was compared 2 weeks ago to what it is now, which is we're still increasing when they were looking at a decline in cases. So as far as the projections, we're still off a little bit on projections. We're still in Texas, especially in our area being a more rural area, we're still on an increase. This right here is just some more demographic information. It shows that at the bottom it shows the age groups that have been reported in that are contracting the virus. 40 to 49 years old and 50 to 59 years old are our highest demographic as far as age group. This is our statewide hospital availability. So right now in Texas, being treated 1,542 patients currently in hospitals. You'll look at the total staffed hospital beds, 53,281 in the state, and available hospital beds, 20,080. So as far as availability, and even in our area, the next graphic I'll show you will be more related to our area. One thing that's coming from DSHS is we're in good shape as far as being able to treat COVID patients. We have the ability, still have the availability of being able to treat patients. Pretty good. This is more related to our area, the top 26 counties. Estimated population of 431,000 people, a total staffed of 1,110 people in the hospitals. Available hospital beds right now, 462 in our area. Available ICU beds, 34. Ventilators, we have 82 available. So still with what our numbers are, we're still in pretty good shape as far as being able to treat any new patients. Especially if we can still continue social distancing, we still continue the avenues we've taken. Hopefully we can get that, especially in our area, to start coming down. We're seeing an incline in the area. We got to get that to turn around, especially get people serious about social distancing and knowing that they need to keep up with their hygiene and all the stuff we've been putting out. This is that other graphic I was showing you as far as this is deaths per day. It's showing you as of today what we're projected to be at, and this is like per day. So we're projecting to be at by May. You can see that at May 1st, we're supposed to be on a down or a decline through the state, but we haven't reached that projection yet. We're still on an incline. So, and they're saying that hopefully by this June 1st is when we're really going to start to see that dramatic decline. But like I said, a lot of the statistics we're seeing right now is kind of all over the place. So just take it as it is. This is the new state map that they had put up for the rapid testing. So you can see that the one there, Gray County, was there actually yesterday. This map is going to be available at that web page you can see up there for any rapid testing that they're going to show in the area. They're going to try to start getting these rapid testing locations in all the counties, especially the ones with a little higher numbers. With this map, you'll be able to go in there and see where they're doing the rapid testing. That was it.
Okay. Thank you. Do y'all have any questions or comments?
Thanks,
Jerry, do you have anything on the antibody testing, or are they currently doing that in Amarillo?
So we actually had a reported from a local doctor here that they had started antibody testing in Border. We had 22 people that have already done antibody testing in Border. All were negative, but we do have 22 people that were tested for antibodies here. So yes, they are doing them locally.
Thank you. And thank you for everything you're doing, Jerry.
Great.
Okay. So the next item is item 13, which is to take any necessary action related to the COVID-19. So one of the things that we need to talk about is renewing our declaration, which is due to expire on the 30th, I believe. And so, Jerry, do you want to give a recommendation on that?
So the current declaration that we're under, basically the only restriction that we have under that declaration is still mirroring the state's declaration as far as gatherings of 10 or more. I think the state was actually looking, they were looking at a more restrictive at 5 or more, but ours still lists as 10 or more. That's the only difference I have in our current declaration. And basically what this declaration does is just, it keeps us open to any, if we were to have an incline in any cases that we needed to call in for additional resources, we'd be able to do that pretty much at the cost of the state and the federal government, as long as we keep that chain linked together with them. So having this declaration in place doesn't really give us we're not imposing any other restrictions other than what the state has out there, but it does keep us available for any state or federal funding. That's pretty much the big key to this document.
Jerry.
Is that a recommendation?
Excuse me, go ahead.
Extend it?
Yeah, I would recommend we extend the document through, at least through, I would say just extend it to the next 30 days as listed on the document. I'm not saying that if we do have a dramatic decrease and don't want to lift it, sooner than that, we could definitely do that. But I would say in most other counties, and I haven't seen a county yet that hasn't extended. So most counties are keeping that extension available just in case they need to apply for any state or federal funding.
Jerry, on one question. It's my understanding that the governor's supposed to have a press conference this afternoon. Is that correct? And if so, what provisions do we need to make in this provision to update anything he does?
Well, it is true the governor is going to do a press conference today. A lot of it's going to be based off, it's going to be economy based, opening, what he's looking at as far as opening up some new business or other businesses, essential, non-essential businesses, that sort of thing. But as far as our document, whenever we were looking at drafting it the first time, is we didn't look at going any further than how the state had written any restrictions in there. So we shouldn't have to rescind anything as far as keeping the document as it is, just because we're not adding any restrictions other than what the state is putting in place. So if the state puts a restriction in place, it'll be stricter than what we have.
No, thank you.
I make a motion to renew our declaration until May 31st.
Second.
It's actually a 30-day document, so
Or May, all right, whatever that is.
if we file it today, it'll be good for 30 days.
Yes.
Roughly. Okay, so I have a motion to extend. Did I hear a second?
I second it.
Second, okay, motion and second. Any further discussion on the extension? All in favor? Okay, right, great. The only other thing I wanted to bring up was we had closed the courthouse to the public until the end of April. And it would probably be at this time, my recommendation that we continue to keep the courthouse closed to the public, at least through the time that we have this declaration in place. How do y'all feel about that?
Is that gonna be for all county buildings instead of just the courthouse?
Yes, I'm sorry, all county buildings, yes.
Okay.
I'm in favor of that.
All right.
Was that a motion?
It seems to be working. I still haven't heard any major issues with serving the public. So I hope we're taking care of everyone that needs to have business at the courthouse. Okay, anything further on item 13, Jerry?
Jan asked, do you have enough test or test staff and people currently in the nursing homes? I'm assuming you mean testing in the nursing homes. One thing that the National Guard and State Guard doing the rapid testing, they are still having it's by appointment, but they are still having the availability of first responders, medical staff, and they're focusing a lot on nursing homes for the rapid testing. So if you do work for a nursing home, it's pretty much a no questions asked. They'll get you in and get you tested and get those results back as quickly as possible. So they are focusing a lot on nursing homes. Make sure the staff, at least the staff, that they're keeping them tested before they're going back to work.
That was my understanding when I talked to them. They said that if you called and made an appointment, they would ask you those. I think there's 5 questions, and if you qualified, they would give you an appointment. But if you were first responder, healthcare worker, nursing home worker, no questions asked, you could go through the rapid testing. Any other questions? Comments? Anything else we need to work on that? Do y'all have anything else that you think we need to be concerned with as far as the COVID? Nope. Okay. All right, item 14 is to consider and or approve the burn ban or rescind the burn ban.
Currently, our KBDI is a 202. So it actually increased a little bit, even though we had some snowfall, it increased a little bit. I think they're looking at some progression with this. We're having some warmer temperatures and some windy temperatures, but as far as our our drought index is still showing pretty low, and so I'd recommend no action.
All right, item 15 is to consider and or approve disposal of obsolete office equipment. I have a request from Carrie Kimmel's office for some computer towers, and from Robin Stroud for a typewriter and a monitor. A motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second to dispose of these. Any further discussion? All in favor? All right, item 16, accept certificates of completion from elected or appointed officials.
I don't have any.
Nobody can go anywhere.
Do anything.
Item 17, consider and or approve requests for the use of the club rooms. I mean, I know y'all are closed, but have you had any future requests?
No, I haven't.
Not that I'm aware of.
All right, item 18, consider and or approve line item changes, transfers, and or budget amendments.
I don't have any.
Great. Item 19, consider and or approve advertising, opening, and accepting or awarding bids.
I haven't received anything.
Item 20, consider and or approve donations to Hutchinson County.
Yes, I have one. As everybody was aware that we were on host the Easter egg hunt on the courthouse lawn. We had 5,000 eggs, and Walmart General Manager Cliff Watson of our border Walmart, they donated 40,000 Easter eggs for the future Easter egg hunts. And we have them stored at the precinct barn out here at Fritch.
Awesome. Thank you, Walmart. So do I have a motion to accept that donation?
Make a motion, we accept the donation.
Second.
This motion and second to accept the donation. All in favor?
I'm in favor.
And Tara, if you can hear me, I do have pictures of the trailer full of Easter eggs. I will send to you later.
Did you get that, Tara? We unmuted you. Maybe. Okay.
And also the Border News Herald, I'll send it to them too.
Good. I'll do a thank you card to Walmart.
All right. Thank you, Judge.
All right, 21. Accept reports from elected or appointed officials as required by statute.
I have the March reports from Edie Bradford and the library. And then February and March reports I have from Christie, extension agent. And then I have a report from Dwayne for April the 13th through the 26th.
All right, item 2, discussion of county judges and commissioners precinct daily operations. Do y'all have anything?
I really don't have anything on my operations, but I do want to say a personal thanks to all the officers of Hutchinson County for the work they're doing. It's amazing the lack of complaints and the way that y'all are working with the public and in taking care of county business. And the court system is totally amazing also what they've been able to maintain. I just want to give a special thanks to everyone out there.
Thank you, Larry. Yes. Yeah, the only thing I would have to add is that we do need to stress to everybody that we have no idea what our financial situation is going to look like, but it probably is going to be pretty rough next year, and that all of our departments, while nobody's doing anything, too crazy as far as spending money, we just need to be really careful about how we are spending our budget money. And just because we have that in our budget doesn't necessarily mean that we do need to spend it. So I would just put that word out that we just need to be very cautious because we have no idea what next year is going to bring. Any comments?
With the annex and the Fritz Library, I'm not doing any more upgrades, only stuff that fix what breaks down at this time.
Okay, just maintain it for now.
Yes, maintain.
Okay. Anything further on item 22? Okay, item 23, to consider and approve the sale of struck off tax properties or tax deeds. And the only one we have is an actual second counter offer. So we've accepted the 2 previous offers, but another entity has rejected it. And it's a property out at Fritz. And so they submitted another counter offer. It's at 0, Fritz Fortress, Rock Island, Griffin, Amarillo, Pampa, all these listed addresses. There was a whole bunch of different lots. So they submitted a counter offer of $2,000 by Sean Davis.
What was the original, do you have that?
Let me look at this. I don't know. I think
I was thinking it was 1,200.
I don't have that information here with me on what the original bid was, but we accepted the original bid, the first counter, and now this is the second counter. And one of the other entities has rejected all the previous ones.
I make a motion, we accept his counter offer for, what, 2,000?
Mm-hmm.
For the said lots.
I'll second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion on that? All in favor?
I'm in favor.
Does anybody have anything else?
I have something real quick.
Okay.
So Judge knows about this, but none of the other commissioners do. So the last several meetings, I dropped some subtle humor to make the meetings a little bit more enjoyable for the employees and those watching. Several of you didn't get it, and several won't get this either. But especially in this, we take our job serious. We need to remember to have a little fun at times. I've had a lot of employees asking me to do this because we don't know if this will be the last Zoom meeting, if we'll have a couple more. So that being said, several of you probably won't get this joke and it'll just look awkward to you. But if you haven't seen the Tiger King, you guys are all missing out. If you have, I wanted to introduce you to my friend, Joe Exotic, before we adjourn for the meeting, and just put a smile on everybody's face and make those employees that asked for this happy. So just wanted to.
All right.
So just wanted to put a smile on everybody's face. So,
Very good, Chris. Very good.
That's all I've got.
Okay, so one other thing to all you cool cats and kittens, are we going to meet next week, or do y'all want to continue to meet on a daily basis or a weekly basis, or?
I would like to go ahead and meet weekly, at least till we see a decline in our cases.
Okay, all right. So that means next week at 9:30, meeting will be May 4th at 9:30.
Are we gonna continue on Zoom until we open the courthouse back up to the public, or?
Yeah, until we have opened back up to the public, I think it's good that we continue our meetings on Zoom also.
Okay.
You guys may never want to come back. I'm just saying. Did y'all get the email? Hold on, Kathy has a question.
Did y'all get the email from TAC about the Senate bill meeting, the webinar?
Yes.
Okay.
About the budgeting thing?
Yeah, because it's tomorrow at 2 and it's 3 hours.
Yeah, I'm signed up for the 5th. They have different times.
Oh, I'm signed up for tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm signed up for the May 5th.
I didn't know if they got it.
Did y'all get that?
If
It's the Senate bill too. We were
Got it.
supposed to have that training at West Texas, 2 weeks ago. And so now they've put it on as a webinar. So y'all might want to check your email and get signed up for that. There's multiple dates and times you can sign up for it.
But it is, I think, a 3-hour webinar.
Yeah, it's lengthy. We were gonna have a early bird session at West Texas and do that. Yeah. So check that out.
I wasn't supposed to be on camera this long like this.
Well, Joe, looking good there. Anything else? Okay, good to see everybody. Meeting adjourned.
Thanks again.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah,
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
All have a good week.
You too, Red.